Welcome back. This is part 5 of How to Read Literature Like a Professor. Um, so let's look at a few more techniques as presented by our author. One of the techniques that is suggested is, well, the title is Hansel and Greteldom. And the idea is that fairy tales and kitty lit, or literature that is aimed at a younger audience, actually provides a basic story that we all know. And so authors typically use kitty lit or fairy tales so that we have this common background, this common beginning, a place where we can start and move in the same direction together. Um, these stories make use of patterns that build depth and richness. While it may be simple on one level, there's actually a depth that can be built with these stories. Sometimes it's with theme or with irony, and it really draws from this knowledge that we have. Fairy tales, and if you remember back when you were a kid, often address morals, or norms. So maybe it's about slow and steady wins the race when the tortoise beats the hare, or if it's about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, or Snow White, or whatever the story is. There's usually a moral that's included. Um, and so that's what our authors often use to relate to us. So here are just a few themes that are common. You can certainly make the connection to. In the story of Hansel and Gretel, it's a story of lost children trying to find their way home, which is a common theme in literature, whether it's a pair of children or a single child or several children. This theme, I don't know if it originates from, but it comes from, it draws on Hansel and Gretel. The story of Peter Pan is another story that is common, with the refusal to grow up, with lost boys, with the female nurturer. You can see Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz. These are often deal with worlds that don't make a lot of sense, at least rationally, when there are different rules, when everything operates under different rules. The White Rabbit or the Cheshire Cat or the Wicked Witch of the West. Um, these are kind of some common themes. And in Cinderella, we learn about orphaned girls abused and adopted by a family and saved through like the supernatural intervention and marrying a prince. So these are just some of the common themes of Kitty Lit. And when you're reading your stories, you might find them present, even though they're not labeled as such. Just a few more themes with Snow White. We think of the evil woman who brings death to an innocent girl. And when you think of Sleeping Beauty, where we think of a girl becoming a woman symbolically, and how there is this idea of the needle and blood, and this is the equivalent of womanhood after there's a long sleep of avoidance and growing up and becoming a married woman who is saved by a prince. Evil stepmothers, queens, the Rumpelstiltskin. There's a Prince Charming heroes. These are the people who rescue women. So this is really what Kitty Lit is. Um, at this point, if you want, you can pause this recording. Rather than work with two or three other people as presented on the screen, by yourself, I'd like you to think of a movie or a book that fits the pattern of a fairy tale, that shares some of these same themes that you could draw upon. And once you've done that, I'd like you to list the elements of that movie and then um, make sure that it fits, make sure that it matches, and share that with somebody. Talk it over with a friend or a family member and see if they can figure out which um, kitty lit story you're drawing upon. So take a minute, pause, uh, do steps 1 through 3, and then we'll move on. Good. Hope that wasn't too hard. Let's move on to another type of common knowledge that authors often draw upon in order to enhance our understanding of a story. The next section is called It's Greek to Me. And a lot of us know about Greek mythology. Myth is a body of story that really matters. There are patterns that are present in mythology and run deeply in the human psyche. And these are stories that have been around for literally thousands of years. And we kind of retell these stories and keep the stories growing, but they're kind of based a lot of them in Greek mythology. The story of the Iliad and the Odyssey, or which is where the idea of the hero originated. We have Odysseus, who is the hero struggling to return home. If you're dealing with somebody who's got a small weakness in what it would normally be a strong man, maybe not physically strong, but emotionally or mentally or in some other way, they're very strong, but they have a small weakness. Um, it's their Achilles heel. And using this term, an author can say a lot by just using a few words. There are other myths, of the underworld and of the river Styx, crossing into the world. The Oedipus complex, where a man marries unknowingly his mom, and then a whole bunch of chaos ensues. The story of Medea, which is a movie based on a woman, I suppose loosely based on Medea of Greek mythology, who is scorned and seeks out to get revenge on her husband, um, who causes atrocious crimes, but it is in order to establish herself as a woman. Um, it's also important to recognize symbols in literature, and an author often will present a symbol and assume that we as the reader have picked up on it or understand it. It enriches our knowledge and enriches our understanding. In literature, weather is never just weather, so you need to pay attention to it. If it's raining, if there's wind blowing, if it's snowy outside, if the sun is shining and bright, if it's a fresh spring day, these all matter. Weather isn't really just weather. So, for example, it's never just rain. Rain can equal fertility and life. We can link back to the Bible and think of Noah and drowning. It also means death. Rain can be cleansing or restorative. It can be destructive. There's this idea that after a rain with the sun, there's these rainbows, and that's a promise of God in Genesis that He says He would never flood the earth again. So rainbows representing hope, peace, etc. So rain isn't just rain. Fog is almost always something other than just like some clouds on Earth. It represents confusion, maybe some mental or ethical or physical problems, a fog that people are in when they can't see things clearly. And snow is often used as well. While snow is clean, it's also stark and can be severe. It's warm, but it's also inhospitable. It's inviting, it's playful, it's suffocating. There are a lot of paradoxes, which is interesting when it comes to weather, but that's because it can mean so many things depending on the situation. So, to illustrate our idea of weather and how weather often means more than what is obviously in the story, I've got two clips I'd like you to see. The first is Hotel Rwanda, and this is, if you've seen this movie before, it's where the main character is driving through. It's really foggy, you can't see things. And you watch for yourself and see if you think it means than just an unclear road.
Oi. Whoa, Benoit, what is going on? You've driven off the road. I'm on the road. You're going to put us in the river. Stop the car. Stop the cars.
Notice the confusion on Don Cheadle's face, the actor here, as this fog is thick, but he's starting to see these dead bodies lying all around.
listen to me. You were to tell no one what you have seen here today.
Good. Okay, so there's that clip. And then I wanted to show one more clip. This is from the movie Shawshank Redemption. A prisoner's been wrongly accused. After years of this term in prison, he decides to escape. There's a lot to discuss here.
Andy crawled to freedom through 500 yards of shit-smelling foulness I can't even imagine. Or maybe I just don't want to. 500 yards. That's the length of 5 football fields. Just shy of half a mile.
So you'll notice as the rain falls there, it's not just rain. This prisoner has escaped the unjust prison that he's been in. He's climbed through 500 yards in the sewer and waste. And so there's this symbolic like struggle that he has had as he climbs through the gutter, literally, falls into the water, which we'll talk about in a little bit in baptism. And he stands out, and the rain washes him, it purifies him, and he is cleansed. It is a cleansing moment for him. You'll notice also the way he's standing now. Remember that in the future when we talk about Christ figures. So we can see two examples here of weather being more than just weather. Fog, where someone's unclear and confusion, and rain being restorative and a cleansing sense. That'll end this video. We'll pick up again in the next unit. Thanks.